All right, are we good? And Daisy? She's on? Okay. All right, well. All righty. I guess we'll get started. We are expecting Daisy to connect remotely, but we can probably get started here. So today we're having the BPUB Regulatory and Policy Committee meeting. Today is August 5th. It's 5:01 p.m. and we are here in the Annex building. And we can go ahead and get started. I call the meeting to order. And we'll move to public comments. Do we have anyone here for public comments?
No public comments.
Nope. All righty. We'll move to the next section of the meeting. Items for presentation and discussion. Number 1, presentation and discussion of revisions to the Brownsville PUB personnel policies and procedures. Policy number 5, appointments.
Daisy just joined. Good evening, Chairman, committee members. My name is Sergio Delgadillo. I'm the Compensation and Benefits Manager. Report on the HR Division under the direction of Dr. Emilia Guerra. I'll be presenting policy number 5, appointments. Oh God, I went too fast. So our current policy was last reviewed on December 8, 2003. So need a little bit of an overhaul. And really what it establishes, it's the types of appointment BPUB has. So what changed? Of course, like we're doing with all of our policies, we're reviewing them to ensure that they're compliance and in alignment with policies and templates. We're making sure that the language, it's easy to understand for all of our employees, that it keeps the same tone. Some of the things that you'll see in this policy is that we added new sections. One of the sections is at-will employment and FLSA classification and BPUB classifications. The other major change to this policy would be an added section for BPUB job classifications for term-limited employees. And the proposed change in title. What we're saying is, rather than calling it appointments, let's call it employee classification. Are there any questions on any of these changes that we're proposing?
No questions.
Perfect. Well, I'll respectfully ask for a recommendation to take this to the board meeting in August. And I thank you for your consideration.
Let me ask you a quick question, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't paying attention here. On page 1 of, on the red
Yes, sir.
at-will employment.
So,
Let me just ask a quick question.
yes.
On at-will employees, can you give me an example of at-will employees that PUB engages with? How many at-will employees do we have?
All employees are at-will employees at BPUB.
That's what I wanted to clarify. That's the, okay, and, okay. No, I wanted to clarify that, thank you.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. What I was asking for, if we could place this item under consent agenda as well. The board meeting in August.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think it's pretty clear. I'm okay with putting it in the first section of our meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is the end of this item. Should I go to item 2?
Yeah, let me move on to, I was just waiting to see Daisy had any questions. But yeah, so thank you for that information. I think it's pretty straightforward. We did review the documents and changes, and I think we can go ahead and include them. So as far as item number 2, presentation and discussion of revisions to the BPUB personnel policies and procedures, policy number 30, use of technology policy.
Thank you. Well, this is a policy that we brought just recently to this committee, and we got approved through the full board. But we continue to follow your recommendation and continue to bring this and not let them just sit down when we need to do some changes. So the last revised, it was November 13th, 2023, and it establishes acceptable use of technology, and for technology, everything is included in this category: computers, cell phones, or any other devices that may be used to produce data or review data or create data. So what are the changes that we're proposing? We're proposing a new provision against using technology when operating BPUB-owned vehicles and equipment. We also include a section addressing the employee's use of non-BPUB technology while in the workplace. So again, very straightforward changes. In reality, these are covered through IAPP 8 manual, which is the manual we adopted within our safety and security policy. However, we thought it was really relevant to include it here for clarification and best understanding for employees.
Yeah, so I think I understand the use of technology when in a vehicle, right? There might be a question for that, but the other one is non-PUB technology may be used to make visual, audio, so on and so forth. That's just in general?
Yeah, so employees that need to use a device for their work are provided a device for work. So we're saying is anybody who's bringing a device that is not provided for work, they need to abide by the same policies that every other employee abides while using technology
Yeah.
when they're in pay time. That's what we're saying. And of course, they need to be authorized to use this device if they're going to use it. That's the clarification that we're adding to this policy.
Okay. How about the internet? I know we've had that discussion before. Are there any restrictions on the use of internet?
You mean internet on their personal devices or in general?
On their work computer?
So the use of technology policy does cover some applications that may not be used just because they're also mandated by state law that we can't use it. For example, TikTok. So it's established that those apps may not be used with any BPUB technology, and it does set standards for what we cannot use or can't use within our internal system. And of course, I'm not the IT guy, but I do know that there's a lot of controls on what we can look for in it and online, and of course, it'll prompt a security
Yeah, I
message.
mean, there's a lot of, I guess where I'm going with this is, I know that there's normally restrictions, but I think with all the AI stuff happening, you know, those are pretty good tools and actually should make people more productive. So just food for thought, you guys can consider making sure that the employees have, you know, access to those
Resources.
emerging services, yeah.
Definitely will consider that. Of course, what we're saying in this policy is that the technology and the apps that you're going to use, they need to be authorized by IT. So eventually, that's probably a point of discussion with them so they can open them and, of course, train us on the use of them because they could be dangerous if you're not
Yeah.
trained on how to use them, right?
Yep.
You open that wrong
That's something
gate.
for you guys to consider.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
think
the
at
recommendation.
least I would be open to it, and as a user, I find a lot of value, and I'm sure that different people can use it for different parts of their job. But with that, there's also guidelines that need to be provided. So just for thought, food for thought in the future. I'm okay with the changes here. I don't know if you have any questions.
I just want clarification on the proposed policy changes, general changes, added a prohibition against using technology when operating the Brownsville PUB-owned vehicles and equipment, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Prohibited. So the redlining here on page 3 and 4, on the second paragraph, employees' use of non-Brownsville PUB technology should be limited or prohibited. Or clarify that for me.
Yes, sir. I'd just like to go to that section that you're referring to. That's under the red line.
it's policy.
Page 3 out of 4,
Yeah, page 3 of 4.
in use of non-PUB technology. The
Yeah,
second.
the intent for this class is to, when somebody's using their personal equipment, their own technology, that
Yeah.
it should be limited to what? Taking an emergency call. Just those things that happen to all of our employees that they need to take care of, but it should be limited. That's what it means. It should be prolonged use, it shouldn't affect or interfere with your job. So that's the intent.
And I think the question is, when something's prohibited, it's 0, and when something is limited, then you can use it on a limited basis. So I think that's the question is, what are you trying to accomplish? You're trying to prohibit it, period?
No,
Or
no,
you're
no.
trying
no.
to
In
limit
this,
it?
this is case, this is not a provision. This is just setting an expectation within policy, so that employees understand that they should be using their own technology in a limited way. So we know that life happens, and we know
Yeah.
that our employees sometimes need to take a personal call. What we're trying to say here is that they're not to be taking personal calls all day through the day that is affecting their job. Does that make sense?
I'm not clear on it.
Okay.
Y'all have a policy, let me just read the proposed policy changes.
Mm-hmm.
Added a prohibition against use of technology when operating Brownsville PUB-owned vehicles. I think what you're saying to us is the personal telephones, cell phones are limited use.
I'm so very sorry. I didn't understand your question initially. So the first section, sorry, it's a provision of use. You are correct. And it does read using technology while operating a VPUV-owned vehicle or equipment. So under provisions, we don't want our employees to be talking on the phone while driving a VPUV unit or any other units. And as I mentioned before, some of these provisions are already outlined in other standards that we follow for safety. And it's an expectation set within our PPA safety manual for any VPUV or for any utility-owned equipment. That's exactly as it reads. So yes, the intention is that an employee does not use technology while they're operating the vehicle. That means that if they need to take a call or they need to close a service order, they'll need to stop the operation of the vehicle, and then they can use that technology then, but not while operating. That is a provision. You are correct. No use of it. Now, if you're using technology, the first thing we're saying is your own technologies, first, you need to follow the same standards set in the policy. So basically, you are prohibited from using your own technology while operating a vehicle as well, because we're just saying that. That's a provision of use. And regarding where it says limited, it just meant what I explained before. We're not operating a vehicle necessarily, right? You're to limited use of your own technology. I hope that clarified.
It does, but I think you guys are going to be facing in the future situations where you're going to have to interpret what limited employees' use of non-Brownsville PUB technology should be limited and must not interfere with the ability to effectively perform their job duties. I don't know, I'm just one person, I'm reading it. I don't know if y'all should use limited or it should be prohibited, but y'all can discuss it. And maybe do you understand it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's room for interpretation, right? That's the point is, you may face situations where an employee can say, hey, it is a limited use, and then you have to make the case for that.
Yeah, I think the case here would be that it must not interfere with their ability to effectively perform their job duties. So if they're using the technology in a way that they call it limited or not, but it's affecting their ability to perform their job duties, then you're still incurring in an issue with this policy. And of course, we brought in policy number 18, which talks about discipline. And within that one, we've been very clear about abuses of time and work time. So that would be probably a combination of both that could fit together to help us better take this home.
Just one quick last question or comment. When you have men and women out in the field, they're driving a PUB truck, are they issued a cell phone from PUB to communicate, or are they using their own cell phones? Now, this question could be for Mark. I'm just wondering, if you have a field employee that's driving a truck, do they communicating with PUB, with cell phones from PUB or their own cell phones?
So most of the vehicles have radios in them.
Okay.
Some employees do have phones either issued to them, their BPUB phone, leased
Okay.
phone, or they have their own personal phone that they register and they get
I would ask y'all to
a
just take a
payment
really
for it.
good look at that. I don't mind this.
but they shouldn't be talking on their cell phones while they're driving. That's
No,
prohibited.
I understand. And the limited part is, I don't know how you would police it, but, I mean, this is what what is being recommended for the changes, and I'm okay with it. You know, I just wanted to point that out.
There's an opportunity for some clarification, so we'll certainly work with HR to clear this a little bit, but it's similar to that incidental use of the regular office phone. You know, if you take you're making a doctor's appointment or something like that. It's incidental, it's not interfering with your primary duties and such, and that's much what I believe was meant to be captured here, that, yeah, you can do it, just don't let it get in the way of doing your job.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
That's good.
And I don't want to assume in your case, but I think the concern is the driving. There's probably other concerns, but specifically around driving, BPUB,
Maybe those large trucks,
so just being distracted sounds like
But
that's.
to that purpose, it is strictly prohibited.
Yeah.
And because it is prohibited, then the use of your own technology would also be prohibited while operating a VPV unit.
but I'm hearing that. I don't see it here in writing, but I'm sure you guys will implement it the way it should be. And I'm okay with it.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
have you-
just review, see if there's an opportunity for clarification.
Definitely. There's always room for processes and procedures that can help us outline better the expectations of a policy, and we can definitely work on one. And
Keep it simple, but maybe
yes, so
some
that
of the
explains
words,
exactly what the
yeah.
expectation is. I understand. So I do appreciate the feedback, and I would respectfully ask for recommendation to take this to the board meeting in August.
Yeah, I recommend we include it in the next meeting in the consent items.
Thank you. And that'll be the end of the presentation.
And Daisy, any comments or questions?
Sorry.
Hi, no, I did read through the policies and I'm fine with them. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.